Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live. Talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynncullenshow@gmail.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Engrossed in something I was reading, and then remembered I'm supposed to be saying hello to you. And speaking of Susan, I believe she's joined us. Hello.
Yeah, I was a good girl.
I know. I actually saw you were there, and then I started reading. You know how that goes.
You do not have to explain to
I
me how
know.
this happens, and then you go, "Holy crap!
Yeah, I know.
I just disappeared."
I know. I caught it in time, but yeah, I was heading down the hole. Anyway, hi, Suze.
And it affects. I just want you to know that affects me in my everyday life because I know that I'm capable of doing that. So whenever I'm waiting to do something and I'm on a time schedule, I'm checking every 2 minutes. Have I disappeared in space and time? Have I disappeared in space and time?
Well,
so,
I get you.
These things happen, dear sister.
Indeed. So I haven't spoken to you in some time, and
No, I was thinking that too. That we haven't talked.
no, we have not. So, guys, yeah. We won't go personal, but yeah. So wow, so much has been happening on the world stage, Suze, that I just
No, I haven't talked to you since last Tuesday when you were firmly hiding under your bed and I was joining you.
Yeah, and things only got worse.
Since then it's gotten worse.
So
I saw no reason to talk. I mean, I honestly get like messages. It's like I had one the other morning at 6 a.m. from a brother-in-law out in Colorado, and I could see he called, and I called him back. I said, "Sorry, I was asleep." He said, "No problem. I was just checking to see if I'm totally nuts or is the world really this bad?" I said, "No, you aren't nuts," and I hung up. I get calls like that.
Yeah, no, I know. I think we all do. And it just, it's blah, 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 blah. I can't. I was writing last night to someone who was hiding in a bomb shelter in Tel Aviv.
Tel Aviv. Oh,
Yeah,
I know who you
yeah,
were writing
and
to.
she's
Yeah.
been telling me about her experience, and it's just, she's an old woman, and
Yeah.
and her husband has dementia, and when the air raid sirens go off, he gets so freaked out, and yet they've got to get him down into a shot. It's really, I mean, when all of this insanity boils down to just one human being that you happen to know, it becomes so much more
Personal. No, I have very good friends. The guy that introduced me to my husband has family living in Tel Aviv.
Sure, sure.
It's very personal.
Yeah, I was with people the other night who have family in Israel. She was an Israeli and married an American, and yeah, and whatever. It's just
Well, what's interesting though is the stories are so complicated. This particular friend who was born in a relocation camp after World War II to two Holocaust survivors.
Is this Donetsk? I'm trying.
This is Donetsk.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, this is Donetsk, and the family ended up. There was a large surviving family. One sister managed to hide and save all of her brothers and sisters almost to the end of the war, until she was discovered. They went to a camp, but were not there long enough to perish. And so they all survived except for the sister that kept them alive. And you know, when things started blowing up in terms of anti-Semitism, my friend Jack said, you know, my father would say to me, you think that things are better. You think things are not better. Things are going to go just right back the way they were. You cannot think that things are okay ever.
No, it never stops. So,
And so when things started blowing up, Jack's on the phone to me saying, all I can hear is my father, you know, and,
well,
you know.
yeah, you know, I saw a doctor yesterday that I hadn't seen before, and just out of the blue, he starts telling me about his father, how he comes from a long line of doctors, how his father had been in medical school in Germany, and they kicked all the Jews out. This was obviously in the 30s. He was told he could no longer. So it ended up saving his life. I mean, he left and went to, I think he said Switzerland, and continued his studies there until he ended up running again. And so the only reason I was talking to this doctor yesterday is because his father managed to stay one step ahead of those who wanted to kill him because he was a Jew, and managed eventually to get to the United States. And this guy uh, and so this guy was there to treat me yesterday, son of an immigrant running for his life to the United States of America.
Right, and Jack was alive to change my life.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, I don't know.
These stories are, you know, we are so. This is why I find that a generation, you know, just for me, just one generation removed from World War II.
Yeah.
How so many people don't understand that they voted for what the greatest generation
fought
was dying for.
I know, it's mind blowing to me. And you know, the woman who is you know, I'm corresponding with, she's an old friend, who's in spending a lot of time in bomb shelters. She is the daughter of Holocaust survivors as well, and she never had grandparents because they were killed in the Holocaust, but both her parents had managed to get out, although with horrific stories. Her dad had the tattoo. Well, I don't know if you remember him. He had the
I do.
Yeah, Art Lichtenstein. He had the tailor shop.
Right.
I think I don't know if I've told the audience about this guy. He's a little Jewish Holocaust survivor who opened a tailor shop in Green Bay, and he made the clothes for a lot of the Green Bay Packers because, you know, they were big guys and they couldn't find clothes that fit them, so they all knew to go to Art. And one of my favorite stories, and I think I probably have to have told you this, that I once I was in his shop with his daughter, and there was this gorgeous young black man there, and you know, had to be a Packer because there weren't any other black people in town, and he was using the telephone, and he was clearly ordering a telephone, so he was probably a rookie, and had been told to go see Art Lichtenstein, and he was on the phone
doing business while he was there.
while he was there, and he said, so the year would be like 19, I don't know, 60, 3 or so, or 2. And
Yeah.
he
Yeah.
said, here's what I'm listening to his end of the conversation. And he said, "Oh, yes." And he looked at the two of us, these two young girls. He said, "Yes, a black princess. I would love a black princess." And for those of you who are not old enough, there was a thing called the princess phone. Do you remember them?
Sure.
They were
They were
sleeker,
long and
right? They were long.
slender.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. They had a different profile, and they were called princess phones. And he was obviously asked, "Would you like a?" And he said, "A black princess," and smiled at us. And I remember, I swooned. Yeah, I swooned. So, anyway, yeah,
Yeah, that was in the days where, as you said, if you saw a black person, you knew that they were either a Packer or related to a Packer, because otherwise they wouldn't be there. And I must say that reading the Green Bay Press Gazette last week, and I now read it in Chicago too online, it was very cute to see Joanne's Park, which is the park that lies in front of Green Bay East High School, where Lynn and I both graduated, and across from the Green Bay Synagogue, Knesset Israel. And it had, when we were growing up, one of the only public pools that I remember going swimming in
yeah.
before we joined the country club, and before, that's where we went swimming. Well, Joanne's Park hosted a huge Juneteenth celebration.
Huh? Wow! Amazing!
And it just made me so
Amazing!
happy to see that park filled
With black
with
people?
all
I
sorts
love
of
it.
different colored
I love
people.
it.
And they're really cute. I mean, they had a huge drum thing going on there, and there were plenty of just good old looking, you recognize them anywhere, Green Bay white guys drumming up a storm with everybody with these looks of happiness and rapture on their faces. It made me so happy to see America grow up,
Well, Green
and the
Bay
fact that
become diverse.
those
Right.
two, those two things that we can be where we are now, and Green Bay can be where it is now. I don't understand.
That some people consider that an invasion, Susan. It's an invasion. Yeah. By the way, the guy who ordered the Princess phone was a guy named Marv Fleming. I later found out,
Oh God,
who
yeah.
was
Boy, was
a
he good.
wonderful, I think, tight end, and whatever on the Green Bay Packers, that won, that were that incredible Packer team under Lombardi. Just saying. And also, when the Taylor needed heart surgery, maybe about 8 to 10 years after that, he had to go to Milwaukee, and Green Bay Packers donated blood for him. He didn't make
Well,
it.
I think he was beloved.
He was
I mean,
beloved, and that's what his daughter hadn't known that until he died, and he didn't make it out of that surgery. But his funeral turned out to be just, she said she didn't realize her father was so beloved. So, but he had been through, hell, and had lost his entire
well,
family. Anyway, but what the hell? What the hell? Killing Jews is in again. I read an amazing piece, and I'm not going to go there right now, about how the term Free Palestine, while initially meant, just let those Palestinians have a homeland, for God's sake. And I completely understand that, and don't disagree with it. I believe in the Palestinians should have a state, the Israelis should have a state. So So free Palestine, fine. But the thing is, it's become the thing that Jew killers say before they kill Jews. In both the most recent incidents here, where Jews have been attacked, burned, and or shot dead, the perpetrators have screamed, "Free Palestine," and then killed or tried to kill Jews. So I read a piece saying if the left and the progressives and the Palestinian pro-Palestinian people, if they now see that this free Palestine has morphed into a killer's cry, a Jew killer cry, that they need to distance themselves from from that verbiage, or need to own what has been set off. Anyway, I doubt that it will happen, but there's that. Okay, so listen.
It's not that difficult. Jewish people have been able to say we support Israel, we support Jews, we do not support Netanyahu's government. It's very easy to do, especially if you are a Democrat in the United States and understand that you can be for the United States and very I can't say the word, very against.
Yeah.
Thank you. Against the government. Yeah. There are nuances in life.
Well, it's like the United States, for God's sake. I love my country. I hate this government. Hate it.
Everything this government stands for. Every single last thing.
Try to take it down. Replace it. And I feel the same way about Netanyahu, but it doesn't make me want to go kill Americans.
No. Or Palestinians, for that matter, or anybody else.
Anyway, okay.
I do, as I aim my itchy trigger finger towards the actual perpetrators.
Hey, you know what? Speaking of people, disparate people coming together and avoiding the big subjects for a little longer, okay? I want to point out the wedding of a Jew, also the child of a survivor, and a Muslim.
Oh, yeah, and Houmadin.
Huma Abedin. Does that name ring a bell? Huma Abedin. That was Hillary.
That's Anthony Weiner's ex-wife.
Yeah, I know. She was married to Anthony Weiner.
To Anthony Weiner, the most appropriately named asshole ever.
Yeah, really, indeed. But he had this apparently wonderful wife who was the aide to Hillary Clinton, Hillary's right-hand woman, throughout her campaign and beyond. And this weekend she married for the second time. And this time she married, well, she's always married Jews.
Yep.
I guess, because Weiner, God knows, is a Jew. And this time she married a Jew who I think does not take pictures of his penis and send them to people. But, I don't know. But he is the son of George Soros, who the right-wingers hate beyond belief, and who anti-Semites hate beyond belief. So Huma Abedin has found another husband, Alex Soros. So there you go. And she's
I wish him well. Yeah.
Muslim, he's a Jew, and they had a rabbi and an imam perform the ceremony. So that's nice. And she's 10 years older than he is. Just saying.
Yeah, and I mean, and he does. I was looking at them together and going, boy, he looks like 18.
Yeah, he looks so young. I know.
He just has this his physicalness is still that of a very young man.
Yeah. He looks like a kid, and
He really looks like a kid.
and she's 49. Just saying.
Yeah.
Whatever. They in love, and they now married. Okay. Okay. Let's.
And I like that the Venetians are protesting the Bezos wedding.
Oh, I do too. Oh God, that
I think they're
vile
going to get
man
hit
and
by
his.
water pistols. And can I, and I totally agree with the Europeans, because it's not the tourists, the tourists. It's those cruise ships that come in and belch out, 10,000 people at a time. And
those cruise ships are just repulsive. I mean, they're
just
so
disgusting.
huge.
How they got that big? I mean, they are just disgusting, and they are a mar on the horizon of all of those beautiful little idyllic places you think you're going to. Well, no, you aren't.
That's right.
Yeah,
I know.
They look like tampons wedged into the harbors along the Côte d'Azur. That's what they look like.
Well, worse than that. I too have an image in my head of being on a roadway hugging the Mediterranean, and it taking me way up, and down below you could see, these beautiful little harbors and little lovely European harbor
We're
villages.
remembering the same view.
I know we are. And there was one of these cruise ships that looked so alarmingly just out of place.
Out of scale.
I mean, it was 500 times larger than it needed to be to fit into this beautiful picture. And to think that it marred the entire landscape, and then, as you say, disgorged hundreds and hundreds of people into this idyllic, small.
No, thousands.
I mean, so I just don't understand how, of course the Europeans are saying, God, guys, I understand that tourism is a big part of their economy.
We were tourists. We were saying the same thing. They were ruining our trips.
Yeah.
We would be walking along the streets, and all of a sudden a stampede of people off these boats would come swarming down the streets. You would know.
And the thing is that many people totally destroy the ambiance that they're supposedly going to enjoy. You don't see it. There, I saw a picture on the news of, and I've stood in that place too, going to the Louvre to see the Mona Lisa. And, you can't, that's a small picture. That is not, if you've never seen it, it is not a large picture painting.
Yeah, no, it's like a 12
small.
by 14.
Yeah, it's really small. Yeah. And there is a mob in front of it. You're lucky if you can possibly see it.
Well, it was like that the last time I was at the Louvre, and my favorite image was of some, I think, Japanese tourist holding up, at this time, it was still a video camera and not an iPhone, and filming the Mona Lisa. And I remember thinking at the time, what does she think she's going to do?
Quick, get her!
Rig, what? She's going to laugh. I know it.
No, but there's something, I have had no desire to
go back,
to be a tourist again in Europe or any other heavily traveled place, because I'm sorry, unless you go
ruined.
Off season. I mean, go when no one else goes, because it's awful. And now we're finding out that the people who live in these places are just beside themselves with having their cities and towns overrun. And it's not that they don't understand. A lot of them probably work in the tourism industry, but it's the developers in their own countries and that are putting up hotels that are building. They're being priced
People
out
can't
of.
afford to live in their own cities
That's right.
anymore.
That's what's happening. They can't afford to live in their own cities. I don't know.
And apartments aren't long-term rented; they're short-term rented.
Well, you know what I looked at? You know what I saw? I saw this. There was protests also on the Spanish resort islands of Majorca. Oh, that reminds me of a funny Jewish joke. I mean, it's meant to be a Jewish joke because it's said in a Jewish accent that I think Mom used to tell. Majorca. Every time
Mom was very good at telling
I
Jewish
know,
jokes.
because she does a good accent and I don't. And I mean, it's not that great a joke. It always made me laugh though. But uh, it was essentially an old Jewish woman telling another Jewish woman, "So we went on a trip. Oh, where'd you go? We went to Majorca. Uh, where's Majorca? I don't know. We flew." It's not funny when I do it, but I love, where's Majorca? I don't know. We flew.
You have to be shrugging your
Yeah, I
shoulders,
know.
you know.
I don't know. We flew, but Majorca. So anyway, there were protests on Majorca, Minorca, and Ibiza, and those three Spanish islands have a population altogether of. I'm surprised it's this much. Just over 1 million people that live on those islands. And last year, they had more than 15 million tourists.
No, it's like rats. They're talking about an invasion. There's your invasions.
So anyway, in case you hadn't heard,
I think they have to not let those boats let everybody off. You have to say only 400 people can come off a boat. Sorry. And you sign up, and if you don't make it, you don't make it. You don't get to see that port.
Those boats are dumping their sewage and garbage into the ocean.
And they're dumping all their crap into the
God, please, God.
Yeah, I mean, I'd really just like to limit the size of cruise ships.
Yeah, it would be a good idea.
I mean, I thought the QE2 that we were on in 1963.
No, that wasn't the QE2. That was the USS Rotterdam.
Oh, that was USS Rotterdam, the sister ship to the QE2.
No, it's a Norwegian ship. The QE2, we were not on the QE2. At least I one or two, or I don't think it was the Rotterdam.
You are correct.
The Norwegian
but that was a huge. Remember how big that thing was with elevators and it's like 1/15 the size of these cruise ships.
Yeah. Well, so hurricane season starting up, and the head of FEMA's preparedness just quit. The head of FEMA's Disaster Command Center. He's the guy who coordinates the response. He just threw up his hands and said, "I am out of here."
Well, he's not allowed to respond, obviously.
No. And our president was heard just last week saying in the Oval Office, "We think after the hurricane season, we'll start phasing it out." FEMA, he was talking about.
Well, he hasn't responded to any of the tornadoes. Like no one in St. Louis has seen.
Can you imagine?
FEMA.
Can you imagine?
Nobody
Well, then, Susan, there's going to be God forbid, who knows? We know the weather's gotten nuts, and there will be next to no federal response. And he flat out said that if a state gets hit by a hurricane or any other kind of, tornadoes, blizzards. Here's Donald Trump's words, quote, "The governor should be able to handle it. And frankly, if they can't handle it, the aftermath, then maybe they shouldn't be the governor."
Well, maybe we shouldn't be sending all of our money to the federal government, who is not returning it to the states as they should.
No, they're giving it to billionaires to put in their pocket.
They're giving it to billionaires. I mean, as I paid my taxes yesterday, my estimated taxes, I was going, do I really want to do this?
Well, you have to. So anyway.
Well, I could hold off for a quarter and just make it up. I mean, I feel like, maybe we should.
What difference does it make? I mean,
I don't know.
You're going to have to pay. Speaking of governors and Trump, here's his latest quote. I don't know about the latest. While he was, running from the G7, because he doesn't like those things where there's other people.
He just wanted to come home.
Yeah,
they make up all these reasons. He just wanted to be back in his own city. He wanted his own toilet and his hamburgers.
Right. He wants his own place. He can't do these things. And frankly, Heather Cox Richardson pointed out that Washington insiders and observers have noticed how rarely Trump is appearing in public these days and how often he falls asleep when he does. And it is prompting speculation that he is really physically unable to sort of keep up the appearance. And the reporter who broke this story broke it before he went off to Canada for the G7. But in the story, he said it is likely that Trump's team will look for a way to get the president out of the G7 early to avoid exposure. Interesting, huh?
Yeah, well.
Okay, well, I'm just saying. Also, so while he was decamping.
But Joe Biden.
I know. I know. Well, Joe Biden, yeah. Doesn't excuse what the Democrats did there either.
At least they had people knowing what to do doing it.
Okay, so Trump has still not called.
He's not going to.
The governor, no, he's not
going to.
No, and here's what he said on Air Force One as he's heading back to Washington to his golden toilet. He said this. "I think the governor of Minnesota is so whacked out." He said this morning. "I'm not calling him. Why would I call him? I could call and say, 'Hi, how you doing?' The guy doesn't have a clue. He's a mess. I could be nice and call, but why waste the time?" Yeah, your silence says it all. How does?
What's someone to say at any point? The guy is, we've used every word possible, but it all boils down to he's a total piece of shit, and may he not live much longer.
Heather Cox Richardson also suggests that he clearly has less power than he tries to project. He was weakened mightily visually over the weekend with the paltry showing at his big parade, and then
that was a pleasure.
It was
to watch.
Yes, and the millions,
the totally empty stands.
Yeah.
But they just didn't even have to work at this, and I gotta hand it to the military. They were just sort of hot and shuffling along.
That's right. We spoke of that yesterday, but here's the thing. When for him, these are humiliations. And he has the need after something like that to project more power.
So, right.
So I'm just saying, watch out.
Well, no, now he's deporting farm workers and
Right,
restaurant
right.
workers.
But that's the other thing. He had said, and talk about Taco. He says one thing one day and then totally reverses it the next. But
Depending on which direction the wind blew back at
no,
him
or
from.
depending if Stephen Miller didn't come into his office and said, "What the hell are you doing here? How are we gonna make the blah, blah, blah?" So it's unbelievable that the chaos, the change, the 180s in his own policy are happening with that kind of head spinning rapidity, and it suggests a person not in control. Who is in control? I think when it comes to immigration, it is Stephen Miller.
Yeah.
America's true Nazi. And it's not Trump. He is not interested in doing the job. He's interested in enriching himself because of the
wanted
job.
the title and the platform from which to grift.
Yeah. It's really something. And in regard to Iran, I just want to say I am not sure. Here's what I want to say. I want to say that whatever you think of Netanyahu, what he has done to Iran in the last few days.
Oh no, I mean I feel
gift,
the same way.
Is a gift
right,
to the world,
to all of us.
It's a gift.
No, just when I was just so fed up with Israel and with Netanyahu, they go and remind us what they could be doing if they wanted to do it right.
Yeah, exactly. The precision, they're just
what they used to be famous for, which is not going after civilians.
Right. So I want to say that they have degraded this. I want to remind you that when Kamala Harris was running, she was asked what she would consider the greatest threat to America. And she surprised a lot of people because her answer was a nuclear Iran. That was her response. And anybody who knows the danger of a nuclear Iran.
And it's not so great anymore. Yeah.
No, definitely not so great anymore. The other thing that I don't know if it's being reported a lot is that the Iranian people, in large part, hate their government.
They hate the Ayatollah.
They do. They live in a terror state.
Right.
He kills them more than
regularly.
Right. He kills more of them than Israelis do. The repression of that state is astonishing. And the people
and the women and the way they treat the women,
God.
Yes.
The people would love it. I mean, I think when they heard
it's the one time when Trump told Netanyahu to pull back, I was going, what?
I'm sure the Iranian people are probably saying they could have taken him out. Right. And so I have to tell you, that is, and people who know about Iran and are reporting on it saying that the people there are actually rather thrilled that they are weakening this repressive regime.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they start indiscriminately bombing other than these military targets. I don't know. And it's all very scary. And whether or not Trump will give them the bunker busting bomb they want to totally take out Iran's nuclear that's the huge question, because it would again destroy that power and that threat, but it could drag us into the war, and Americans don't want another war
No,
in the Middle East.
no, and Trump is saying all the wrong things about
Trump is
that.
saying one thing 1 second and another the other. He doesn't have an effing clue.
You think? Yeah, I know. No, it's just scary. We are 1,000 feet, or we are 20,000 feet in the air in an airplane without a pilot, and whose autopilot is not working.
Yeah, what could go wrong? And we're just, my God, we're just 6 months in to a 4-year term. It's mind blowing. It really is mind blowing. Okay.
It was nice to see all of the people out for No Kings.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And
Indeed.
I mean, all over, just all over Wisconsin. I mean, the reporting was so cute. In these places that
Little
you don't
places.
expect, like
Yeah.
little places like
Yeah.
Door County, and
Yeah, I was
and
saying.
the police actually closed down. These things have been at the park that joins the most north bridge over the Fox River. And that's where they closed that bridge, and that's where these protests have been. And the police closed it down right before the thing was to start. And I still don't quite understand how or why that happened. But anyway, no problem. Everybody just went over to Broadway and they lined, and it made it even bigger and more impressive because it was just went on for blocks and blocks and blocks, and it was wonderful.
Well, yeah, it was, but it has to keep on keeping on. But it showed.
It does.
It did show. I mean, again, it
It
showed.
helped show a bunch of people in this country that they were not alone, that they were not crazy, and that together we are far stronger.
And
that's what it does.
Yeah.
It's just a shot in the arm.
And it didn't give him what he wanted, which was violence. It didn't give him that at all. We got a caller here. Let me get him in. Immer. I don't know. Hello.
Hey, talking about the worry about Iran, how they might respond to being, they're getting beat up pretty good in their nuclear capability. Did people remember that Obama had that all in check before the idiot took over in 2016?
And Trump ripped it up.
Yeah. I mean, he had a regular inspection schedule. It was all part of the deal.
Right.
Oh, right.
I mean, this is prevention without hurting anybody, and it's just like people. I mean, even you're talking about Holocaust survivors and what they meant to people everywhere, and the difference they made because they survived. And I just think that our history is really, really, it's never been more short-lived, or it's like does anybody remember anything?
Yeah, our collective memory is just short of amnesia.
I mean, and because I remember, like, and maybe this is a little off topic, but like all these people, bragging about their military, status and their veterans and this and that. I remember a day when the veterans didn't want to talk about it. They kept very quiet about it. And, there's just so much has changed. And I don't know if we get back to remembering history and walking softly and carrying a big stick and all these things that I thought was what made America great. And now it's like we got to put on a performance and we got to brag about I was in the Marines and I got my bumper stickers.
It really is this confusion about masculinity. What you are describing is, our fathers, they were, excuse the term, gentlemen. They didn't brag. They didn't show off their power. They simply lived it. They lived their lives, with integrity. That was power. And all of that quiet strength has disappeared.
Is it a reaction to, they fear they're losing power, so they gotta?
I don't know what it is. I don't understand. I don't know what it is.
I think it's part of it is cultural and has to do with the entertainment culture and how we now value
the thuggification of masculinity.
Or display. So you have to put on a show. You have to, in order to get, everything has to be more than it is. So when, even I'm thinking of things that used to be private now become spectacles. So that a proposal of marriage, right? Used to just be something that happened quietly between two people. And now
gender reveal.
It's expected to be
gender reveal, right?
Yes, and but this is part of the culture that if you do something quietly, it just isn't enough. It suggests that you didn't care or something. I don't know. And there's a confusion in, I guess. So if you're a younger people growing up in this culture that celebrates spectacle, that's part of your ethos now. It's
I'm going to 3 high school graduations in 8 days.
Oh God.
I don't know about you. I didn't have a graduation party. I think.
What are all these signs too? And all these signs. So and so, I graduated from signs on people's yards. And I'm thinking, when did we start?
That's what you were supposed to do. Big deal.
Yeah, I know. I don't understand it.
Here's another thing that think about. Like, maybe I'm really dating myself. The NFL, when a team celebrated too much,
they got fined for being inappropriate.
They wiggle their hips too much, and now it's like after an interception, the whole defense runs to the end zone for a photo op, and that's okay now. And
and they practice and rehearse. They practice and rehearse their dances, and because everything now has to be spectacle. I remember Vince Lombardi saying, you don't want to do anything. If you get a touchdown, you just hand the ball to the ref and walk. You act as if you've been there before.
I guess, are we just like too nostalgic and we really don't know, or
we're grumpy old people? We're grumpy.
I'm sure we are grumpy old people, but what we are all describing is a cultural narcissism that's destroying us.
I think. Because it destroys the collective. It destroys and
community.
The sense of community, exactly, where the individual is not. the idea. Oh, well, it just don't get me started. But yeah, and I don't know that there's anything we can do. There, we now everybody can have their own narrative, their own soundtrack, their own everything, and we're fucked. Sorry, we're fucked.
Oh, well, keep a good thought.
Okay, all right.
I'm sure that part of it is our age, and the good news is that none of us will be here all that much longer, and then the people behind us are going to grow up and look at the people under them and say, "My God." Maybe they'll say, "Oh, good, they fixed it." Who knows?
Oh yeah, fat
Okay.
chance. All right. Thanks for the call.
Yeah, keep a
All right,
good
well-
thought. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, bye. Oh dear. Rust Belt says, I had a great uncle that was in World War I, and whenever you asked him about it, he said he didn't want to talk about it. Right?
Right.
Yeah.
It was traumatic.
It was traumatic. It was something, yeah.
These men went off and did what they had to do. They didn't do it because they were warriors, and they came back with scars. And no, they didn't want to talk about it. And there was no help for them, and it wasn't recognized.
Well. So, did you see this thing about Area 51?
No, thank God.
Okay, but
I have enough trouble sleeping. What?
Okay, so Area 51, you know what it is? It's this place, right, in Nevada. Where UFOs were sighted, or what?
A lot of alien activity, apparently.
Okay, are you aware that the Wall Street Journal, no less, has finally blown up the entire story of Area 51?
Really?
Yes. And it's mind-blowing.
There are little green men.
No. And there never were.
What a surprise!
Yeah. And it turns out that a lot of what it is was almost a hazing ritual. The Pentagon the Defense Department had this Area 51 that exists. It was there, and it was used to test new weapon systems, like the stealth fighter, for instance. Also, there was a system that was designed to simulate the effects of massive electromagnetic pulses. They were working on stuff there, but it was Defense Department stuff. And what the people who ran it did, I mean, they were working on actual weapons programs. But when people came to work there, they were told that there was a secret UFO investigation that was called Yankee Blue that was going on there, and that they were to maintain absolute silence about it, and in fact told that they could be executed if they ever told anyone.
Oh.
The Wall Street Journal said officers misled subordinates about this secret UFO investigation, and it was something akin to a hazing ritual in which new team members were told this, and the older ones were laughing behind their backs.
Well, that's a way to build camaraderie.
So the whole thing was
a joke.
a joke. Here's the little bit. I didn't see the Wall Street Journal article, but here's a little bit that the Week reported. The Pentagon spent decades fueling conspiracy theories about UFOs, the Wall Street Journal has reported. It was the Defense Department. It had an office called the All Domain Anomaly Resolutions Office. What the? And it finally dug into claims about the secret government UFO programs, and what they found was this unbelievable lie and deception and or hazing joke that had gone on for decades. It said part of an elaborate practical joke that was sustained for decades. The military actually encouraged rumors of UFOs around the Area 51 site in the desert in case locals happened to see, strange things like tests of their weapon systems, of these, they were doing some testing weird stuff. And so they thought, we'll just tell them UFOs. And then the journal says it was clear and officers were told to mislead their subordinates. The last line here in the Week's reporting is, the revelations so stunned Avril Haines, President Biden's director of national intelligence in 2023. But they were not released to the public. So the Pentagon owned up in 22. Biden's people knew in 22, 23, and they still didn't tell us. It took the Wall Street Journal. It took reporters. And it hasn't gotten much press, has it? You didn't know about it, right? I didn't either. How odd is that?
No, well, part of the reason is because that's exactly the sort of thing that my eye would skitter right over,
Oh my God. Not that it'll stop the people who need to believe it, but there it is, brought to you by...
I feel a whole lot better. There goes a whole source of nightmares for me.
Brought to you by the effing Pentagon. Wow.
Okay, thank you for keeping me safe.
Okay, we got a caller. Let's get him in quickly. Hello?
Yes. Now, how do you explain all the sightings, though? That's the only question I have.
Oh, the sightings. Well, yeah.
Sightings all over the world.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing.
There's got to be some truth, and I'm not sure if I believe it or not, but the Area 51 thing, I never did believe much of that. But the part of the sightings, the actual people that they talk to and children, I mean, you can't dismiss that. So I don't know. It sounds like they're covering up the cover up or something. That's all I know.
There you go. Okay. Hey, thank you. We're out of time, and you're breaking up a bit. Okay.
Sorry about that.
No. Thank you.
Bye.
But I think what you said...
It's not real.
No, but I think what he said is true. I mean, it doesn't... the fact is, they also say there are a whole bunch of stuff that pilots have seen that they don't, they can't figure out. It doesn't mean there aren't any UFOs. It means there were no aliens found and kept somehow at Area 51. That's all they're owning up to. Unbelievable.
Well, and they spoiled the game.
I know. Can't have any fun anymore. All right. Well, whatever. That's it. We's out of time.
Okay.
All right, Suze, hang in there. God knows what'll happen in the next 24 hours.
Okay. Maybe I'll call you later.
That would be
Bye.
nice. Yeah, I really would actually like to talk to you sometime today, later.
Okay.
Maybe this
I'll call
evening.
you
Are you
later.
going to be around in the evening?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, let's do that. Okay. Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. And guys, thank you. I just the head continues to reel. God help us all. Stay safe. I was going to say keep your heads down, but no. Time for heads up. Up. Okay? Toodaloo.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.